Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 578 for the week of Monday, February 27th, 2023. We're back. We'll talk about that in a second. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who else is here with me this week, though?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
Sometimes Toby.
Lane.
And always Toby. And Lane. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey, so, yeah. Am I the last? Am I the last to get COVID?
Marshall hasn't
was that
had
The last on this show or on planet Earth?
Yeah. No. Maybe planet Earth. Lane, you didn't have a COVID, right?
I haven't had it, so at least as far as I know.
Yeah. Okay. Kevin, you got it, right? Yeah. Brock, you got it. Yeah. So sorry for no podcast last week. I had COVID. First time. Great. I mean, it was actually fine. I wasn't sick. My wife was very sick. Leanne got pretty sick. She got it. I got it a couple days later. Not great. Get vaccinated. Stay home if you're sick. It's still out there. Mask up when people are being gross. I was all but symptom free. I just a very, very minor cold. Leanne was like full on like flu bedridden for a couple days, but once you start the antivirals and things get over pretty quick. So, we're fully vaccinated and everything, and I'm masked at the store all the time, and it's like not much, can only do so much when someone in your house gets it. But yeah. Could have been much worse, but definitely wasn't up for recording last week, even though I did see Ant-Man. The plan was to record, but yeah, we didn't know how everything was going to go, so I didn't want to keep Leanne up, and I figured I didn't know how I was going to feel, so I didn't want to plan for it. So, but we were back, and it's actually okay that we waited a week because I don't really have anything else to talk about this week either. So we're talking about Ant-Man. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. It's funny. I didn't even... I knew it was coming out, obviously, but in our previous episode, we're usually like, oh, yeah, and next week will be a movie episode or it's a review episode. And I guess we just completely forgot to even mention it. I wasn't even thinking about it. Did. So I don't... Did we?
Yeah,
at the end. Kevin mentioned it.
We're like...
Maybe.
Movie episode next week. Yay. Okay, cool.
I don't even remember saying anything about it. Now I just want to go, you can go back on the record and go back previous episodes and conversations in the store if you're a customer or a friend. And we will obviously, whatever. There's no order to this. Just talk. I don't have no plans for tonight. I was from trailer 1, I was like, oh boy, this looks terrible. And this isn't just like Ryan hating Marvel stuff. It's just the trailers looked awful. But public reaction seemed very positive. So those early trailers. And I was like, okay, we'll see. And as we were coming up, I was looking at the slate of Marvel movies and the TV shows and just thinking, I don't know, something's going to give. I think they're holding back everything to see how Ant-Man does. I mentioned this on the podcast a few weeks ago that if Ant-Man did really well, I think they're just going to go ahead and everything's fine. But if Ant-Man starts to kind of, if there's problems, this should be the start of the next big, great line of Marvel movies. And if there's problems from the start, everything's going to change. And sure enough, what happened? Captain Marvel got pushed back. Talks from Kevin Feige about slowing down Marvel entirely. I am very confident half these shows are coming out this year. Looking at the slate of upcoming movies, like they are going to spread the stuff out, and there's going to be less. And there's talk of they want the shows to feel special and be more unique. And it's the same thing they did with Star Wars. They realized, oh shit, we're doing way too much. We can't do this. We have to slow down. So, no surprise that was one of the big things coming out of Ant-Man is less Ant-Man and more the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is that we are now in a hopefully quality over quantity and slow down to the main Marvel releases. But yeah, I expect pretty significant changes going forward here because the path they're on now is unsustainable. You may have some hits on the side, but I think they realize things need to change. I actually I don't ever check Rotten Tomatoes. I am generally, as you know, pretty much against Rotten Tomatoes. But unfortunately, do need to just recap very briefly here before. As of right now, with 360 reviews, Rotten Tomatoes has a 48% on Quantumania, which I believe is 1% higher than Eternal, making it the second worst reviewed MCU movie. Eternals is 47%. So, and I don't know. Is this just people catching up with me? And the people that have been saying for a while.
People don't see it. I'm so shaking my head right now at Ryan. He's ahead of people. He's so full of himself.
Here's the question.
Continue on, Ryan.
Is this movie worse than Love and Thunder?
Are we going in random order, or are you just throwing?
I don't. Where I'm ditching any sort of normal conversation flow we have.
You've got to keep some tight reins.
I just don't even care.
Okay.
Is this movie worse than Love and Thunder?
Worse by what standard?
Is this a worse movie than Love and Thunder?
Well, ask yourself this: which one would you rather sit down and watch again tonight?
I'd rather watch this. Is this 15% worse than Love and Thunder? Based on Rotten Tomatoes.
Love and Thunder has Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, so you're wrong in this argument. So Love and Thunder any day.
I'm just because and if you remember my reviews of Love and Thunder, I didn't actually hate it because I expected it to be trash, and it was, so expectations were met. I also expected this to be trash, and I actually don't think it is. I don't think it's good, but it's exactly what I thought the trailer showed me. It's a generic borderline nothing special Marvel movie with a throwaway villain, which is fine. I don't care. I don't care that it's a random generic story that does nothing new, says nothing, and the villain is a one-off villain that we'll never see again. We should never see again.
Wait. Are we in spoilers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna spoil everything.
When you say a one-off villain we'll never see again, you're not talking about Kang. Are you talking about?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
You think you're never going to see Kang again?
No, of course you're going to. But that's what I'm saying. Kang in this movie was a generic one-off throwaway villain who's a bad guy for bad guy's sake, doing bad things for no reason. And Kang is no different. For everyone that hates him, right? Again, Iron Man 2. Right, Whiplash or a Malekith and Thor 2, right? Movies that people hate. He was no better. It's the same character. It's just a random throwaway villain that's a bad guy to be there to be beaten by the hero, which I'm fine with at the end of the day. But is this your Phase 5 start? This is your 2-part Avenger movie? This is your next Thanos? Are you fucking serious, Marvel? No. They need to make some monumental changes, or we're in for a very bad couple years in Marvel. If this is the state going forward, I don't know what they're thinking. Again, I don't hate this movie. I think it's perfectly generic and average, and it's another B- C+ Marvel movie. But this can't be your start of everything again. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Come on, Kevin. I see you biting.
I'll go. I mean, I think actually Love and Thunder is a good comparison because, Ryan, hear me out before you pounce. I think in both movies, you have a really good villain performance let down by really bad writing. The acting is good. I would argue the acting is good. It's just the Kang character on the page is so muddled, so inconsistent. Just, it wasn't figured out. It needed another pass. So when you ask me which one is Love and Thunder worse than this? I'd probably, I don't know. God. I can't answer my own question of which one I'd rather watch right now because I don't want to ever see either of them again for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'd say the movie I'd compare this to more than Love and Thunder would be The Rise of Skywalker, and that is not a compliment. That is definitely not a compliment, because all of you, look, I'll give a couple points and then Brock or Lane or Toby take over. But all of you shit talking Cameron on this show, look, say what you want, watch Avatar, watch Way of Water. That feels like a real place with texture and weight and depth and characters interacting with an environment. This feels like a high school play in front of a green screen.
Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Yeah,
I could care less. But I mean, but
that was one of my biggest complaints about this movie.
Yeah, it's like the worst Rick and Morty episode you've ever seen, which is because it's written by a Rick and Morty writer, which is the irony of it. And they've done brilliant takes on this kind of story in 20 minutes that this just completely collapses. And the last thing I'll say, Brock, you could take over, is for all of you complaining about the Mandarin, you ought to be out in front of Disney with pitchforks and torches for the MODOK here, because the Mandarin was still a real villain, as we saw in Shang-Chi, was still a real character. This MODOK is like somebody wiped their ass with the character, lit it on fire, and then pissed on that to put it out. It was, Ryan, if you tell me you liked MODOK, I don't even know anymore, because it was god awful.
Ryan loved MODOK.
Oh, no. When MODOK had his mask on, I was fine for those 2 scenes for 10 seconds when he had his mask on and was flying around. Every scene with MODOK with his mask off is the worst scene in a Marvel movie. Yes? Yeah? Disagree? No?
I agree.
Yeah.
I can't lie. So I got spoiled on that one, and I thought it was a joke that someone photoshopped together. I was like, this can't be possibly what they're doing in the movie. And when they did, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like so thrown off. I was like, there's no way that this is what they did.
For every complaint I've had where in the last, I'm going to say really, really Eternals till now. I mean, what was Eternals the first post Endgame movie, right?
Wasn't it Black Widow?
Or Black Widow, right.
I love Black Widow.
Black Widow till now, I would say every new character introduced has completely missed the mark of the character from the comic. Now, I'm not saying they're all bad characters, but they are not the comic character. And this is a problem that did not exist prior to this. Whatever issues I maybe had with some characterizations prior, Star-Lord's not really Star-Lord, but it works, right? I mean, Rocket and Groot are complete blank slates, so anything you add to them is going to be original. Star-Lord, for the most part, was a blank slate too. Like, he really wasn't a character. He was nothing prior. But Cap, Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hulk, Thanos, Loki, every single character they got right. Every single character they got right. Look, I'm not the world's biggest Red Guardian fan, but that's not Guardian. That's not Red Guardian. Like, that's a different character, right? I don't hate this portrayal of Taskmaster, but that's not Taskmaster. That's not Shang-Chi. That's not the Eternals. They have the names. Maybe they have some of the powers, but it's none of the characters are not the character in any way, shape, or form. This isn't Kang. This isn't fucking MODOK. What else am I missing? What else was in between then and now? That's not Namor, right? Like, none of these characters are. It's like, did you guys just forget to read the comics that these are based on? There's okay characters in there, or maybe even some good characters in there, but they are so far removed from the comic book versions of the characters. You have the name, and that's it. And I don't get it. I don't understand why such a drastic change after Endgame and Infinity War. Like, that wasn't a problem beforehand. I think in the case of, like, Kevin, like you just brought up the Mandarin, that is a rare case where they completely missed the mark on the character, and I don't get it, right? Whiplash? Sure, Whiplash is whatever. Whiplash is Whiplash. Like, yeah. Malekith? That's Malekith, I guess. Like, he's kind of a nothing character, but yeah, sure, that's Malekith, right? Ultron, It basically is. I didn't care for the portrayal, but I'm not going to say it's not Ultron. It is. It's the origin's a little bit different, but it's still the same character, right? As not the case now. Every single one of these characters is completely made up. It's fan fiction, but they just take the name of an existing character. So,
how about Agatha?
I mean, that's not Agatha Harkness. No, that's not Agatha Harkness. I like her. That's not Agatha Harkness. That's some other character, but it's okay. She's all right. That's what I mean. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm not saying all of these are bad, but they are not the characters, and that wasn't the case prior. So MODOK, yeah, fucking what the hell? I don't need it to be exactly the same, but you got to get me in the ballpark. You got to get close. And this was...
I don't mind, though.
If anybody hasn't read it or seen it, and you Google Jack Kirby MODOK, just Google it, any image. If you're walking down a street at night and you round a corner and see that thing floating, you're going to shit your pants. If you see this MODOK floating in front of you, you're going to laugh like what Ryan's doing right now.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a comedy. Like, I have so many questions on a story level about so much of this movie and so few answers. And it's not the fun kind of questions like you speculate with your friends, like, oh, I wonder if this or that. It's, why would this happen? Why would that happen? Where did this come from? Why? Who? How? Etc. Okay, Brock, I'm done. Go. Somebody go.
I don't disagree with any of that, but at the end of the day, it's just a dumb, random, fun, quote unquote Marvel movie. I don't hate this the way I've disliked some other movies. It's just nothing, and that is usually worse than really bad. Because it's just, well, if this is how you're starting, that's not great. And this was supposed to be your big first kind of like big movie for this phase. It's a bad start. It's not Ant-Man. It's not anything like the other movies. And again, the first 20 minutes, I was like, yeah, okay, this is an Ant-Man movie. It's the same comedy. It's the same tone. It's just, again, and Ant-Man's a little bit the same. Are these really the same characters? Yeah, they're sure. They're close-ish. It's, they work. I have no complaints. But they did something unique in those first two Ant-Man movies. And whatever you think of the second one, I don't think the second one is nearly as good as the first one, but I liked it quite a bit. This just feels like a completely different movie. If this was a Guardians movie, it would have maybe made a little more sense. Then I could have just like, okay, well, it's goofy Guardians comedy. At least I kind of understand it.
To take your question earlier about Thor: Love and Thunder and this one, Thor: Love and Thunder was at least like I'm not defending that movie because I feel like Taika was a little too much Taika in that movie and he didn't get thrown back. But at least that one had established humor and they maybe just went over the line with that humor for my tastes. This one, though, was no longer Ant-Man humor. They took Guardians humor, and I felt like that belonged to the Guardians, so I felt like it was out of place here.
Yep. Well, and that was my problem with the reaction to Love and Thunder, because to me, and I know people disagree with this, but to me, it's the same as Ragnarok. It's the same humor. It's the same thing. So I'm like, if you loved that, why don't you love this?
Not to make this a Thor podcast, but I feel like Ragnarok was awesome, and to me, it just went too much in Love and Thunder, basically. It went over, like, it needed to come back a little bit, like, be a little more serious on some parts.
Yeah, because that was my problem with Ragnarok. Ragnarok went way too far for me. And yeah, had Love and Thunder pulled back, I don't know, maybe it would have been better. But to me, it's like, well, it's just the same. It's the same. If Love and Thunder was an 11 on the comedy, this is, or if Ragnarok was an 11 on the comedy, this is an 11 on the comedy. It's not.
Thor's problem not only is the comedy, it's the character. Thor's character had such a drastic
from the previous appearances.
Had such a drastic shift in that character from those movies that it's not from the Dark World to Ragnarok. It's a combination of the things, especially with that character.
Well, Ryan, the argument I've made to Ryan before is if you take all the jokes out of Ragnarok and just play that story completely straight, I think you have still a really good movie. If you take all the jokes out of Love and Thunder, it's still not good. The humor is not the problem.
I'll go one further. You take all the jokes out of Love and Thunder, you may not actually have a movie.
Yeah.
Sorry. I actually love some of the people involved in that movie, but I'm sorry.
Well, and I think if you look at Quantumania, kind of, Ant-Man, they get sucked down. Ant-Man and his people get sucked down into the negative verse. I mean, what is the equivalent of this? It's the microverse, right?
Quantum
I mean, this
realm.
is the microverse, right? That's what this is, right? From the Marvel comics.
Yes, yes, it's the Micronauts world.
Yeah. That sounds great,
right?
Like the basic pitch of you take the little guy and you put him into the little world, and now he's normal. Like, that sounds cool. Okay, it's the you kind of get the I mean, I know some complaints I saw where people said, oh, the whole thing with Ant-Man is that he's big and small, and then you have him in the normal world. If he's in a small world, then he's just kind of always the same. But it's I'm okay with doing that for a third movie. You're able to have fun with the small world and big things in it, and
well,
again,
you've established the world.
Question: the best scene is when he becomes Giant Man and is wrecking the city. I mean, that's the best scene in the movie.
I
hands down.
Can't wait for you to hear Lane's thoughts about that scene.
But he's not Giant Man at that point. He's just slightly bigger,
slightly larger man.
He's not normal.
Giant Man for the microverse.
But when he was getting hit, well, actually, Lane, you tell it. This is your
yeah. I had an issue with that one because the whole point of Ant-Man is he can grow and shrink, and the quantum realm is like infinitely smaller than the real world, right? So it's like when he's sitting there getting tagged on by all those ships, why doesn't he just grow bigger? He can grow big enough to just hold the whole quantum realm in his finger. I'm just saying, like it just doesn't make sense to me.
I hand wave that as there's some limiting factor to size within each realm within it. Like, that doesn't bother me too much. Like, I'm not gonna
I wasn't
question
smart,
the science
smart
of
enough
that.
to think about it at the point when at the time, but when Lane mentioned it afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, the thought process there is he could just grow big and escape, right? And he couldn't. So I'm
not saying that he could escape. I'm just saying that as an offensive weapon, he could have just gotten a little bit bigger, so those things weren't as damaging to him. Same thing with he grew the ants big enough to attack. I mean, like there's just all these differences in size that don't make sense.
I think he's limited to the size of the world, so he can only get so big on Earth. He can't grow Galactus size, right? Or hold the Earth in his hand. So he can only get so big within the quantum.
Sure, but he could have just gotten a little bit bigger to the point where those things stop hurting him. And it's just like,
sure, maybe that doesn't.
Well, actually, what Lane
me.
touched on is one of my most disappointing aspects of the movie, not the size growing, but that the quantum realm was so lame. It's like if you came in this movie 20 minutes late for whatever reason, or you were asleep for the first 20 minutes, whatever,
Toby,
and you woke up or you walked in, you go, oh, so they went to outer space. What planet are they on? Because there's nothing about it that's micro. It's just like a weird world. It's just like, how did you completely, like, it's the whole premise of your movie, and you don't even explore it in any way. It's just got lame NPCs. It's got stupid, unimaginative backdrops and ships and fighting and stormtroopers. And it's like, what?
Yeah. So talk about the effects for a second. When Mandalorian came out, I thought, wow, this looks pretty good. Like, I like this tech they're using with the digital walls and everything. I'm like, this seems pretty neat.
But it's a combination of the things, right? It has enough practical effects on set, and like you're putting effort and time and money into what you're making.
Right.
And the technology is great, but they took the technology and made it basically like I'm watching fucking prequels again.
Well, I think way worse than that. In the Star Wars prequels, it's a green screen. I mean, everything's a green screen. Yeah. But in the Star Wars prequels, it's a green screen. When they run, they're able to run off camera because the building they're in continues and they can appear to actually be moving in a direction. This is a room with walls surrounding them on 4 sides. You can't go anywhere. You're literally in a box. It feels like a stage play, right?
Yeah.
The later Mandalorian, what's called, the Book of Boba Fett, and especially in this, it felt so restrictive because you could tell, well, there's the background and there's the physical rock they painted and put in a corner from the set of Star Trek, the original series, and you can see the divide, and they can only go so far. When they're running, that big scene where the whole place is getting attacked and they're running away, it looks like they're running on like a treadmill because you can't get any actual momentum or movement because they're in a room. Like, I don't know how big this room is, but they obviously can't get it. It felt really constrictive in a world that was so open and expansive, and it didn't. Whatever. I'll never watch Avatar, Kevin. So you can. So sorry, but
you've seen one of them.
Sure. But I can't. I assume it blended better than.
Oh my
this.
God, yes.
So, but do you understand what I'm saying about it feels like constrictive, and it feels like they're in like a stage play. It feels like it's like they're in a one stage, like a one room, like a one camera, like sitcom or something like that, and like they can't leave the box they're in, and it leads to some weird scenes of them like all pressed together, but the space looks really wide and open around them. Well, it's a weird effect.
That's also just a artifact having to do with, like, they could be pulling back and having the actors do the full motion, but if they don't map the environment correctly, the environment will slide on them, and that's where you usually see the visual like running problems, where they'll be like running but sliding sideways or somewhat a little bit when they're not mapped perfectly.
Yeah. There's got to be some. Well, reports came out after that. Apparently, all I guess they're on like the D teams now for special effects for Marvel Studios because they've burned through every single effects studio in the world. They pulled all the best studios off this and put them on Black Panther, which that concerns me if these are the best ones you have. And so Ant-Man got left with the scraps of the scraps, which that's not great. And you could tell, like, it just didn't look good. Like,
yeah,
I'd rather you have the quantum realm and you shoot in the woods of Vancouver like every other sci-fi show ever has, and you shoot in the redwoods and you pretend you're on another planet and you just don't bother with it, because get out of the fucking Mandalorian digital wall room. You got to ditch that tech. Boy, it's rough. It doesn't work. It's interesting, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You got to get out there in the real world, because unrelated, but sort of related. Andor looks fantastic, and they did so many visual, like, real shots in real places, real effects, and it's like you could fucking tell. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of CG green screening, of course, but not all of it, and way more of it's practical than you would think. They're in real places doing real things in many shots, and it looks great. Yeah,
you have to strike the right balance between the two.
Yeah. Just and nothing. Like, Bill Murray, why are you in this movie?
Oh my
God, was he doing?
Man!
Like, what was he doing there? What was the point of him being in this? And
he was boinking Janet. Didn't you catch that? That was the point.
It just seems like we just
people have needs.
Are we just?
Look, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan, so I'm all for adult humor, as you guys could tell, based on my language around the podcast. But when she said I have needs too, I felt that was so out of place for some reason, especially in like a Disney World. That was kind of weird. That's just me.
Well, plus Toby, it goes from this existential journey of like, oh my God, she's lost in the quantum realm for how long was it? 2 years or whatever, to, oh, she's actually just hanging out, drinking with this guy and having sex the whole time. Well, I mean, that kind of makes it a little different kind of adventure.
You just painted it like a little worse for me. I didn't even think that far.
Well, so she there for like 30 years or something?
However long.
Yeah. 20 years or something?
I think the problem is the movie's trying to establish like a back history for Janet's character, while to introduce you to slowly to what's going on in the quantum realm, when it should have just been like we get dropped in and this is what happens, right? Like getting back to Kang, I was just like, okay, it's Kang the Conqueror who got exiled and is now taking over the place like he's Voldemort, and you can't say his name because he I'm like, just Kang. Like, what the fuck? Like,
can
we all know who the villain is here, but they tried to like hide it, and it was, I don't know. The script felt very like middle school adventure tone. To me, it just like it hit. Like, I think kids will like it. I think younger generations will,
which is fine.
Will watch it and enjoy
actually,
it.
If it actually works for the younger generation, I'm totally fine with it. Can we go back to Bill Murray real fast? I think the main reason why I disliked him so much because he felt so much like the Collector. So I think the main problem I have with this movie is so many things felt like other Marvel movies. Like the cast of like the Rebel, so to speak, felt like characters from like Guardians. The girl felt like the leader girl, felt like, the Valkyrian ways, I feel like. And then and Bill Murray felt like the Collector. So I feel like these were just parodies from other characters we saw in the Marvel Universe. So I think that's my biggest disconnect in this movie, I feel like.
Yeah, I just didn't get like any of the character motivation or why they did most of the things they did. It's like, okay, they land there. The white savior is going to save the native people from the invading conqueror. Cool. Okay. Is this your movie? Like, is this it?
Like, but just Ryan, it just raises so many questions. Like, why is Kang building? Like, who are those stormtroopers? Why is he building a fortress with prison cells in it? Like, he doesn't seem like a guy, the way they talk about him, he doesn't seem like a guy who takes prisoners, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, why is he making MODOK? Why does Corey Stoll look like a baby when he goes into the quantum realm, but nobody else does? Like, why would you build MODOK? Like, it just doesn't, there's so many, like, what is your ultimate?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, like I said, Kang is a bad guy who does bad guy things for bad guy reasons. There's no reason for anything. I have no idea.
Well, the MODOK.
Why?
Well, the MODOK size thing is because of the fight when they got through in. So I can understand. I thought it was lame, but I can understand it.
Yeah, it's because when his bug outfit short-circuited, it shrunk him in random ways. So that's the explanation of why his head is bigger than his body.
So,
it's not good. Sure. It's just that's the way they explain
fine. It. Of all the issues, that's like number 99 of the things that.
But why did Kang get him, and why did he make a MODOK, and for what reason? Like, it just.
Why would you name it that acronym if you're Kang?
Yeah. There's just no. I like. He was just where did he get anything from? How did he do anything he did?
I thought Kang's motivation was, no matter what, I want to get out of here. Yeah. So why are you setting up this giant fortress and all like you're planning to hang out there forever?
Well, from my understanding,
it would be like a Gilligan's Island episode where the professor goes, "Hey, check out this nuclear reactor I built over here, guys. Too bad we're stuck on this island." And you just go, "Well, if you can build all that, you can't get your ship fixed."
Isn't that the joke of every Gilligan's Island episode?
Beyond that.
But my understanding is that the army is to take on the other universes. It's not just for Quantum Realm.
But for what's the reason? What's the goal?
He wants revenge on all the other versions of himself that put him there. So he has to kill them, right? So the army's to kill the rest of them.
But he only has a one-seater ship.
But yeah, he's gonna get out.
No. Remember, he built the tower is supposed to teleport.
the towers and the stuff that the giant Ant-Man destroys. Because they were supposed to be gateways.
Right. So you build it and you leave. I don't know. Yeah. You know what? This is even more thought than I was
not smart.
Here's a take, Kevin, that you can have a differing opinion on, and you can get mad at me, and we can get back on schedule with this podcast. Since we're talking about Kang, Jonathan Majors, the actor, the human actor from Earth. I've only seen him in 3 things. They're all genre stuff. Seen him in this. Seen him in Loki. I've seen him in Lovecraft Country. It's not that I don't think he's a good actor, because the world has said he's one of the best actors of this generation. I don't think he's the right person for these type of roles. Something in Loki I hated. I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Lovecraft Country started off really cool, but by the end, I completely lost the plot, and I really disliked the last handful of episodes.
I will still like Lovecraft Country, and I would have liked to see a second season. Continue.
Yeah, but fine. That's fine. It's interesting, but they just got way too over their own heads in that show, and I don't know where they were going with it. And it wasn't until I saw this that I realized what I think my problem with him as an actor is. I've never seen Creed. I've never seen the other things he was in, so I don't know. Maybe he's great in them. Maybe he doesn't have this problem. I don't know. But in the genre stuff, I don't think. I mean, he has a theater background, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this makes a little bit of sense. He doesn't feel like he's acting with the actors or acting in the thing he's in.
Yes.
He feels like he's acting, but not on the level or tone of anyone else.
Jonathan Majors is in a different movie in this case.
I thought that in Loki and Lovecraft Country, but I couldn't put my finger on why I felt this way. He's acting like if this was Hamlet on Broadway, he'd be great. But it's not. It's a movie, and it's an Ant-Man movie. That's the thing.
He's always monologuing, right? It's always he's kind of Hamlet. He's separated from what's actually going on.
But I felt like this in Lovecraft Country, he had a kind of he'd be very monotone or like way over the top, but there was like these extremes, and not like a Sam Jackson extreme where it's just, Sam Jackson, or he's being Sam Jackson, like everything. I think that's fine. And it usually fits.
No, role. Sam Jackson has the turn. He can be mild, but there's the turn, right? Like Sam Jackson has that eyeball that fits over the head. What the mother? He has that. There's that stop and then that rise. Whereas he's just either here or here in this movie.
Yeah, he's
right. He's either calm and talking to like prisoner Ant-Man or Scott Lang, right? Or I'm going to torture your daughter. Like it's all over the place.
Yeah, he goes from 1 to 10 really fast and doesn't feel like he's actually interacting with the people that are on the screen with him. And I don't know if this is just like a stage acting thing, because you're generally, I'm not an actor, I'm not a stage actor, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. But to me, it feels like when you're watching a stage play, the people are acting to the audience. I've seen enough musicals and stuff in, up San Francisco, and enough of the plays. In a movie, you're acting with each other. And in a stage play, you're acting like to the audience. So to me, I feel like there's a disconnect here in how he acts in these movies that doesn't really work.
Well, everybody else is in a movie,
and he's not.
He is,
and he's in a,
and he's not.
Right. And so
he's.
But again, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but it throws me out of the character, because like there was one scene where he like he starts like going off, and it's supposed to be really serious. And I almost started laughing because it was just like so over the top out of nowhere. Like he goes from 0 to 100 out of nowhere, and I'm like, that's really weird. So
have you watched some of the behind the scenes stuff or the interviews with him? Okay.
No, I haven't seen anything.
You're not far off, but I think the reasoning's off. I don't know if you want, I guess we're already in spoilers, but so from what I've seen in the explanation so far is he, as a theatrical major, he's viewing the role as a puppet master. And specifically, that is the character he's being told to be. So the reason he feels kind of like third person-ish is because he's supposed to be the third person-ish. Like the whole point. Now, this is the part I really don't like how they're doing this and the way they're doing it, but the way that it was explained is essentially because we know Kang is a time traveler, there's multiple versions of Kang.
Yeah.
You don't know which version of Kang you're seeing because he's a time traveler. So the point is that half the things that he's talking about or have already happened to him because you're watching something that's happened in the past of the version that you're seeing. So that's why he's talking in third person, because he already knew what was going to happen. He already knows what's going to happen, and he has to have it happen in the same manner again. Otherwise he doesn't become the Kang he is in the future. And that's, I don't really like it, but that's how it's been explained in multiple things.
But that doesn't make sense for a Kang that's exiled in the quantum realm that can't go anywhere. He can't time travel. He can't do anything.
Well, no, he only can't do it right now. So the explanation is that eventually we know that this is just one of the Kangs. So there is, and this is a Kang that was stuck here, our 619 Kang stuck in the quantum realm. Don't forget, he who lives beyond whatever the hell he is the last Kang. He's already witnessed everything that's happened to all these other Kangs. He knows what's going to happen because all the other Kangs are dead when he's there. So, we don't know which version, because there's some people have surmised that, and this is the part where it's like, I really don't like this whole Kang stuff because it's him going back and forth as opposed to us talking about time, which is some people said, so when Sylvie killed the guy at the end, it resets all the timelines because he no longer is the one. And the version that you're seeing now, could it be another version of him in the past or in the future after that? And that's how also ties in with the what's it, Timely, the guy in the last credit scene.
Yeah. Well, and that felt similarly overacted, and I mean, that's the character. I suppose I can maybe apologize that, but
that one's easier.
Time. Yeah, what's his name? Victor Timely. Yeah. Well, but this goes to the other post-credit scene too, right?
Yeah.
So I had to look this up. So I knew it was Immortus, and I knew it was Ramatut. Apparently, that's the Scarlet Centurion. That was the other one there. Yeah, I was like, oh really? Okay, well, it's not what. Yeah. Okay, sure, whatever. All these fucking time. Okay. For people who have no idea about Kang, it's a fucking nightmare. It's the most confusing nonsense of all time. There's a million different characters that are all Kang.
But, isn't it Franklin Richards?
Yeah, sure, maybe.
Well, it's maybe Nathaniel.
Nathaniel Richards. Yeah, not Franklin Richards. Yeah. So it's maybe Reed Richards' dad from some reality.
Yeah.
Wait, so is that end credit scene legit? Because for me, Kang, I mean, look, as a kid reading Kang, I didn't have, they're random issues, right? So I never got the full story. So to me, he was always kind of like a Baron Zemo in space. So when there was all these millions of Kangs out there, it threw me a little off.
That's nuts. That's actually literally, that's exactly a shot. Was that from one of the Krapusik Avengers? Or the Avengers Forever? I can't remember what that. It was actually a shot from the comic. It's directly from a book.
No, I was curious. I was really curious. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so Ramatut was an early FF villain that turned out to be Kang, right? Because they go back in time to fight Ramatut. Immortus was, when did they fight him? That was later, right?
That's
another time traveling.
That's Avengers,
yeah.
Shit.
I don't remember when they retconned that to being. Was Immortus always Kang? I can't remember because Ramatut wasn't. Ramatut and Kang, they made. They like merged that together later. Anyway, like I said, it's super fucking confusing. But that scene too, I was like, oh, these are all like weird, overacted parodies. Like something just doesn't sit right with me with any of these characters. So Kevin Creed's probably the greatest movie of all time, and he's the finest actor and is going to win every Academy Award for the rest of our lives. But something about this, it just doesn't work for me. He just doesn't work for me in these roles at all.
That's what I'm saying. I have no problem with his performance. It's just that his performance of this character in this movie does not work. That's
I agree with that.
And I have a legit question for everybody. And this is no trolling. I'm being 100% serious because I do not know the answer. And if somebody knows the answer, enlighten me, please. Should we have been rooting in the movie as an audience for that Kang to escape the quantum realm or not?
Oh, no, he's a bad guy.
But he says, of course not. If I don't escape, it's going to be way worse because all those other guys are going to be there. You want me to get out because I can stop them.
Yeah, but how? He got beat by ants.
I understand, but I'm saying,
so what was his plan?
The stakes are so muddy. I'm sitting there going, like, should I be rooting for Kang to win here, or is he bullshitting?
Well, what's so funny? Okay, I don't. Again, this is.
I think I would almost liked it better if he did escape, and we did set up actually Kang to start slowly taking over. That almost would make more sense to me.
The best scenes in the movie, without question, are every scene up until they go into the quantum realm, and then every scene after they get out of the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Because when Ant-Man, when Scott Lang's walking down the street, and he's like, "Oh, we won," but that was a bad thing, or was it a good thing? Is it worse? Or was it, like that was hilarious.
Yes, it's hilarious, but it's not satisfying dramatically.
No, of course, but it's a funny scene, and so that's what I'm saying. Like something about every scene in the quantum realm was bad. And it's just the first 20 minutes and the last 10 minutes are great. It's like it felt like the other Ant-Man movie. So like, what the fuck? Like, can we just pretend this wasn't an Ant-Man movie and just make a third Ant-Man movie that's a normal ass Ant-Man movie? Like, just make another normal Ant-Man movie, please, because this can't be the last one.
Hey,
I need something else.
No, you have to have the memes, man. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, this just didn't feel like it needed to be with Ant-Man. Like. Realistically, it feels like the whole if Kang is going to be the big bad of this phase 5, 4, whatever we're in.
Yeah, 5 and 6. Yeah.
What really is the masterpiece then is Loki, the Loki show, and then what will become season 2 because that's going to continue on to explain where he's going to go from here. So it's like having him in this movie seemed a little pointless. Plus the fact that you have to have the pre-knowledge of who he is and what he is.
Yep.
And that's why I really don't like. I don't like that they picked Kang to even be this big bad of this phase because it's too convoluted. You have to watch everything again to even pick up on the nuances to figure out what's going to happen.
Well, think of it this way. Let's go back to Thanos, right? The genius of Thanos was he was never in any movie. He was never doing anything in any movie, right? He would just be in the background of the post-credit scene. He would do a kind of tiny little thing. And people were doing stuff in movies, but there was it was so minimal and it never really affected the movie as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe the stuff with Loki and the Chitauri was the most involved, but Thanos was not a part of that till the post-credit scene. It didn't really matter till the end because you knew he was working for someone, right? So, but that's the only time it really mattered. With this, we're like, okay, it's a TV show, and now there's this, and now there's going to be another season of the TV show, and then it's going to go into like multiple movies. Again, let's take the pitch of every movie. Let's say we have like 10 movies before Avengers, 8 movies, whatever it is. Imagine if, like, the end of every movie, a mysterious character, didn't matter where or when the movie was, this mysterious character was like kind of coming in and doing something in the post-credit scene, and you find out that it's Kang. And then you kind of look back through the movies and you're like, holy shit, Kang was in this flashback scene and we didn't realize it. Kang was over here, like, and you kind of piece together as it goes on, but he's not actually in the movies. It doesn't affect the movie. The movie is still a standalone product, start to finish, and he's a little thing at the end, right? And then you get the Avengers movie, and it's all about Kang, and he pulls in all this time travel shit. That'd be great, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem with the Marvel movies, is that it's not just the post-credit scenes. It's now fully wrapped into multiple seasons of shows and entire movies that now are interconnecting, and it just doesn't work when you do that. The movie doesn't stand on its own as a full piece of media.
Yeah.
Like, it's too interconnected with other stuff. Now, if this was Avengers Quantumania, sure. And then Avengers Secret Wars, sure. Whatever the hell the other movies are called. Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Okay, sure. Okay, you have 3 Avengers movies, 1, 2, 3. It's the plots in all of them. But to go back to the show and the movies and this, and it's just part of a chapter, like, it's not the comics. And it worked so much better in those first couple phases.
Yeah.
And really up until Endgame. It's really just post Endgame where this hasn't really clicked. It's something about it. Just, I never complained about the interconnectivity of it until after. It started to like affect the actual like movie, not just the post-credit scene. I had problems before with people only caring about the post-credit scene. That's a different problem. That's not the problem of the movie. That's a problem of the audience.
Well, the other thing you're touching on, the other issue that's going to arise. So this is the launch of, what are we in now?
5.
Seriously? I'm asking seriously. 5?
Phase
okay,
5.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This was the first movie in Phase 5.
So this is the premise of this movie, is this is the worst Kang. So this is the one that was exiled by all those others in that arena to the quantum realm because they had to get rid of him in a way that he could never escape. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the most badass Kang of 1,000 Kangs, let's say. He got beaten by Ant-Man in his first appearance. So now, with that premise, you're moving forward of, look out, this is going to be the most dangerous villain the Avengers have ever faced. Thanos is going to be like a Spider-Man chump villain compared to this. Look out. Well, you've already shown that you've established this is the worst one. You've established that you can trap the worst one in a realm. If his ship crashes, he's helpless. And then a character who, let's be honest, just in the context of Marvel, is kind of a joke character, comes into this realm and beats the worst version. Okay, look out, world. Because now we've got the less badass versions are ready to take on the Avengers. It's just a terrible calculation.
Well, and that's what makes Kang is not a throwing fists villain, right? He should be in the background manipulating shit, and you should look back over all of Phase 4 and 5, and you're like, holy fuck, Kang was here the whole time. He was in the background of the scene, and we never knew it, you know?
Like Humpty Dumpty?
Like Humpty Dumpty? What?
Puss in Boots? Remember? He was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Just like under the
Yeah.
Yeah. The big problem is that in this Phase 5, it feels like this overall villain with Kang is now dictating the movies as opposed to allowing the characters to dictate where their story wants to go. Like, Cap can't go into Winter Soldier because he has to stop and explain Thanos. It's like there's not a natural progression. And then on top of that, like also, like, I don't know, like I said, this is the weird part. There's also the theory, and once again, I hate all these some theories, that Kang allowed himself to be beaten by Ant-Man for a reason.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, of course. I've certainly missed the days from 5 years ago when every villain, like in James Bond, Loki, Star Trek Into Darkness, I wanted to get captured.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't like the idea, but it also does have some, I don't know. They were I watched a bunch of videos on this, and they're trying to explain the history because I don't know anything about the Kang Dynasty because I didn't read it. But
so that's the Busek, that's the arc in Avengers. No, it's
not Busek. It's someone else. I'm forgetting who his name is.
No, wasn't that from the Busek Kang Dynasty? That's the relaunch. That's the 90s. Heroes Are Born.
I thought, no, Busek is not Avengers Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Busek was writing the main Avengers book too.
Yeah, isn't the Kang Dynasty arc in that? I thought that's what they were drawing from.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I
think it's a separate standalone story called Kang Dynasty.
There's a story called Kang War. Wasn't it called Kang? Shit, I don't
Kang
remember.
War is the one in Avengers.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's sometimes
but I thought
called
Kang Dynasty
War,
and Kang War are the same thing.
It's the King Dynasty apparently also
Kang
did
Dynasty.
the retconning. That's the one that does the retconning about what's his name, the Egyptian one, and then it retconned Moon Knight back in.
Yeah, so Kang Dynasty is the Kurt Busiek, Alan Davis, and others arc that was the post Perez, but that was June 2001 to August 2022. Yeah, so that's in the Busiek run. I mean, him being Ramatut that's an old thing. Like he's been Ramatut for decades. Like that.
And I think the
was
Immortus retcon. You can look this up.
And I think
that's in Celestial Madonna.
As a long
in the
time ago
70s,
too,
I think when Immortus was retconned as Kang, not when he first appeared, but when he was retconned.
No, but the retcon has to do with Ramona Ravenslayer or whatever her name is.
I know
that's his girlfriend.
That's his girlfriend, the love interest of Kang.
Who is it?
Ravonna.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I completely misheard you. Yes.
Yeah. So she got retconned back into being something about she was like a vessel of Khonshu or something, so that she appeared for the Egyptian version of Kang as well. And there's a whole bunch it's a whole bunch of nonsense basically saying that Kang has been going back and forth all these different times, but the things have to happen in a certain order for him to become the person he's going to be later. So, the theory is that at the end of Quantumania, when he gets sucked into the thing, the version that he becomes is becomes the timely guy, and he's hiding out. It's the same guy, supposedly.
So the one, because in Avengers, so. The what's his name? Victor Timely?
Victor Timely, yeah.
So in the comics, that version of Kang creates the company that creates the tech that some version of Kang at some point ends up using to become Kang.
Yeah.
So he kind of creates himself a little bit, right?
Well, he also
it's a paradox. He goes back in time to create the thing that creates him.
Well, he's also
gives him his power.
Buying time because it's when he first loses to the Avengers, he goes back to hide in time as Victor Timely, building up his reputation. Yeah,
sure. So I mean, of course, that could be the same character. Yeah.
So, like I said, this is the whole part.
He got beat by Ant-Man, is what I'm saying.
Like I said, the theory is that he did it on purpose because he has to become Victor Timely in order to be. So by doing that, he is now free of the quantum realm and able to do what he wants to do again. Basically, that was his getting out of the quantum realm.
Sure.
I know. Like I said, this is why I really don't like the fact that Kang is the villain of this phase, because this timey-wimey stuff is based on both versions of understanding timelines, whether it's branching theory or if it's, just straight linear. And it doesn't make sense when you cross both of them.
But that's always the problem with time travel, right? Is, I mean, you got to figure the stuff out and all the crazy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wish they hadn't used Kang as this villain for that reason.
I love Kang. But
But are you going to be able to explain this?
Yeah, you got to do it right.
I don't think when we get to Avengers 5, I have a feeling half the people are going to watch it go, I don't understand who this Kang is.
I don't know. I mean, it is confusing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's a confusing character. So you've got to do it right if you're going to do time travel and time paradoxes, right?
Oh, I know what Marvel's going to do. They're going to have every Avenger defeat Kang on their own, and then they'll have to all come together to defeat Ultimate Kang.
Maybe. I mean, I don't.
God,
he's
that
be in
sounds
Loki
so
and
bad.
then Avengers. I don't think he's in anything else prior to that, but I don't know what else he's doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just nuts.
I would have really liked like a full-on Micronauts movie. Like it was almost there.
Well, yeah. I mean, they take
like it was. We were like right there.
I would love that too,
like,
Brock.
You had all of the components. You had all the components, right? And it could have just been the bad for the Micronauts. That bad villain, right? Like is so bad that they have to call out to somewhere to get help, and this is who they get, right? Like to me, it was like there was just so much potential in the movie. But they took it in it like they went, yeah, we're going to go this way instead of going the way that like you could introduce some more characters, like, you know, have some fun with the characters. Like, you know, Ryan, you had said blank slate. Like these are somewhat blank slate characters that you can actually maybe have some fun with. But yeah, I don't know.
Brock, the problem is, Brock, that Marvel only owns the Micronauts characters they created for the comics, so most of the big guns that everybody would know, they can't use. So you basically have a 3-team Micronauts unit. I mean, 3 members Micronauts unit.
No, you know, even if they just had Kang as like a one-off villain, I would have been like, well, that's disappointing because Kang is a bigger character. I think he is. I don't think he's Thanos level. I think that might be an overreach, but you know. Well, I've said this from the start. I think in order, it's Doom is number 1, Thanos is number 2, and there's kind of a giant drop, and you can fill in whoever you want at number 3. So I just expected Doom, maybe character that actually can interact with all the other characters. You know. Galactus can't, right? Galactus, it's much harder. You can't stand around having a conversation with Galactus or Eternity.
Galactus is a force of nature.
Yeah, those type of things.
Or a force of the universe.
They did it with Ego, but it, you know.
No, fuck that Ego.
That
was garbage.
I think Doom would have been a far better Phase 2. And when I say Phase 2, just after Thanos villain as an overall villain, because Doom seems to be at least on the at the beginning Earth kind of character. So I feel like after Thanos, it would have been really cool to have done Doom for the next 10 movies or so.
Yep.
And then bring in another spaceman, and then you could have Doom still around where he gets pissed off and figures out all the space stuff. So after they defeat the spaceman, then Doom can come back, go buy him an even bigger spaceman. Yeah, and that.
Well, no, but you're right. I mean, Doom must be the next one, right? I don't think there's any other question. I think Kang is sort of this filler villain before Doom, because there really is. Kang is cool. I mean, but he's not Doom. He's not Thanos.
Wasn't there at some point that Doom was potentially in the Wakanda movie or in one of the versions in the scripts? Maybe, perhaps.
Did we talk about this at all? There is like. I don't know that ever got debunked as like fake. There is like prelim art that matches all the art from other stuff that's been in other leaked Marvel stuff, where Doom rolls out at the end of Wakanda Forever.
Yeah,
and was sort of like backing. Cool. It was sort of backing Namor.
That would have been cool.
That would have made more sense too.
I 100% expect. I thought. To up to the moment I was watching the movie, I was like, did I just not get spoiled? Like, is Doom in this and I didn't find out about this? Because this is the day the movie came out and like people weren't actually talking about it, because there would have been screenshots everywhere if Doom was actually in it. Like, it would have got leaked immediately. But I was like, shit, maybe Doom's not in this. Like, that's kind of, maybe that's a mistake. I don't know. I wonder if they cut it last minute just to like not.
Well, I think it would have.
Because they didn't want to deal with it.
It would have matched what you were saying earlier, though. Like Thanos, Doom would have been perfect as the man behind the curtain, setting all this stuff up through all these films, and then until we finally get to him. Because it makes sense. Yeah. Like he is that kind of a person. It's about his intellect, not about his just fighting. He doesn't just go up and beat people up, and then.
Well, I think Kang's the same way, right? I mean, Kang is a similar type of villain where he's manipulative. He's less I mean, he has to be schemy because he's a time traveler, but it's more manipulation than Doom is more like take over and for. Doom isn't really manipulative in the same way as someone like Kang would be, but he's not just going to start just fucking fighting in the streets, right? That's not Doom, and that's also not Kang.
Well, here's a cherry on top of Toby's wish that he just laid out, which is if anybody ever sees Mark Waid panel at a con, where it's his panel. I don't mean he's like a guest on with a bunch of other people. You can get up there and ask the question on mic to give us your, because he has a whole spiel, he has a whole argument that Doom and Kang are the same person, and he'll lay out the argument.
Huh.
Yeah, that's he says this is a hill I will die on, that those two are the same character. I don't know if it's online somewhere. I'm just saying I've heard it. Like
maybe this is all Doom after all.
Yeah, there you go.
Can we say something positive about the movie? I think Michelle Pfeiffer still commands the scene. While I didn't necessarily like her storyline, I was like, man, she like commands. Like, I feel like the best scenes were her in the movie.
Yeah,
no, she's great.
Yeah, totally.
I think she was awesome. I think she really commanded. I thought she was awesome.
It was great to see her in a movie again.
Yeah. And I also say this. While I thought like this, the Ant-Man was so disconnected with the other two, for the love of God, I wish Luis was in this, and I wished he was on, like, I'm gonna say Earth, even though like they're in a miniature space continuum thing. But I wish like he had to do things on the regular Earth where they somehow communicate with him, and he keeps fucking up because he's not a scientist. And I thought that would have been really comedic, and would have kept in some way more of a connection with the other two movies. That's all.
Or hell, if he got sucked down in there with them, I would have been like,
I'm half thinking I should edit this thing where, Luis tell the story and fast forward the entire M3 movie and him having just be like shell shocked.
That's what they're missing.
Toby, have him have just make a little 5-minute movie. Luis explains MODOK.
There is a article on Popverse that was out last week. How Kang the Conqueror could be related to Reed Richards, Dr. Doom, or both.
Oh, there you go.
And this is an extremely long article about not only the origin of Ramatut, when Ramatut became Kang, Marvel back and forth on whether Nathaniel Richards is Kang, how Kang and Rita are related, and who Nathaniel Richards is, and Kang's relationship to Dr. Doom. So I'm sure this is a similar story. So
really, there's hope for the Marvel universe, is what you're saying.
So is Kang actually Doom?
Doom, or he's Nathan Richards?
Yeah,
I don't fucking. At this point in time, I don't.
At
care.
this point in time, I'm scared
like,
of Dr. Doom. If you told me Phase 1 Marvel they're doing Dr. Doom, I'd be like, hell yeah, bring it. This Phase Marvel, we're doing Dr. Doom. It's going to be awesome. Like.
Kevin, can I read you a direct quote
from who?
From a Marvel producer. This was posted on Newsarama. I think it came from Deadline. This is Marvel producer Nate Moore on X-Men and Fantastic Four. When asked by Deadline whether Fantastic Four or X-Men comes first, Moore confirmed that it'll be Fantastic Four, adding, "We have Mac Shackman directing, who's so talented, who did WandaVision for us, and I think people are going to be pretty surprised by what we're doing with Fantastic Four." My reply to this earlier today was, can I just not be surprised? Can I just have a normal ass Fantastic Four movie?
Nope.
Just a normal ass fucking Fantastic Four movie?
Doing. I know exactly what they're doing. Spider-Man is on the team. Wolverine is on the team.
Oh, God.
Ghost Rider is on the team.
It's the new Fantastic
Four. That I would be 1,000% down.
Oh
with,
my God! What are you talking?
1,000% down.
Come on, if they go, it's not what you expect at all. And Spider-Man exists. This is Wolverine.
Toby, you're right. That quote would be accurate because I would be surprised.
It's not even them. It's She-Hulk, that chick that plays Thing.
That's cool. My
like,
joke
in the
was
Thing suit and like a couple of the other ones.
My joke was it would actually be surprising if it was a normal Fantastic Four movie. That would be the surprise because to this point they can't just let anything be the thing it is. Just make a normal Fantastic Four movie where they are the characters. It is clearly some updated origin, but just in the realm of what the Fantastic Four are, and have them do normal ass Fantastic Four things. No weird swerve, no magical guest surprise. The villain's actually a good guy. The good guy is actually a villain. No, just a fucking normal ass Fantastic Four where they fight the Mole Man and some shit, and then that's it. Just please, for the love of God. I got it.
You ready? You ready? Reed Richards. It creates the thing that causes mutations in human beings, and he's time traveling, and he drops it, and he creates Kang.
Well,
sure.
And
creates
Namor,
the mutants.
all those, and then he creates the mutants. Yeah,
I think that the last thing I'll say about Ant-Man, and if you guys can carry on as long as you have stuff to say, is this is the one that broke me. Like, there have been worse Marvel movies than this. Granted, like, by far, this is not the worst. This is not even in probably the bottom 10, probably. But this is the one that broke me in the sense of, I think all of us on this show have seen all of them in a theater, or most of them in a theater, since Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, except for the COVID bits, right?
Except for the COVID.
Yeah. Eternals and Black Widow and Shang-Chi.
I saw all those in a theater. Yeah, so I've seen all of them in a theater. I'm done. I don't mean I'm done permanently. I mean I'm done being automatic. So obviously I'm there for Guardians. Like that's
I was going to say the next one has your favorite character.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I'm there for Guardians, but I mean after that, it is a.
You may not go back after Guardians to see any of them,
especially if they fuck your character in the butt.
Toby, I'm going in with no expectations. Okay. And from now on, it's a case by case basis. It's not a new Marvel movie. I'm there. It's a maybe I will see this.
I'm legitimately. I'm really, really excited for Guardian 3. I'm really looking forward to it. But anything beyond, I'm a little weary.
Agreed.
I will. Hey, by the way, I have some asterisks for this episode in my opinions of this movie, because we never talked about that. I have to be honest. I've only seen maybe a third of the movie.
No, Toby, we love
you. You're so consistent, Toby.
Wakanda Forever watched the entire thing, and I was all in, and I loved it. I'll be honest with you, I was in trouble when the trailers were on, and I couldn't stay up for the trailers. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm fucked. This is bad news. I got a little at the beginning.
Toby, why don't you go to these things during a normal time?
I did. It was. Ask Lane. I picked 3:45 for a reason. What? I didn't do 7. I didn't do 9. I didn't do 11. I did 3:45 for a reason. But
God, I watched like the 10 o'clock one and stayed up.
10 a.m.?
10 at night.
All right. I was going to say 10 a.m. You're not impressing me, dude. Look, I seen scenes and glimpses and the little bubble monster, and I was like, what in the world did I just wake up to? Yeah. I may have a completely different movie in my head than what you guys saw. So it's possible I actually love this movie and I just don't know it yet. So I just want to put that out there, that my opinion has an asterisk on it.
Toby watched Quantum and What Dreams May Come Mania, apparently.
I'll be honest, for Batman, it was actually kind of fun because I felt like I got an experience that the Batman movie is supposed to be, where I put puzzle pieces together. Right? This one, I'm like, do I actually want to rewatch this? I'm not entirely sure. But hey, I may actually love it when I actually put all the pieces together. But for now... Oh, actually, I'll say this. I actually think the daughter was actually quite fun, too. I don't think she was... Yeah, I think she was fun.
No, Ant-Man was fine. They're all fine.
Yeah.
They're just... Yep.
Yeah.
Excited to see what Stature does on the Young Avengers TV show. But, like... Yeah, I don't know. Not the worst. Far from the best.
It was a movie.
Shazam's in a couple weeks. What else
I
we
gotta
got?
get tickets for that.
I'll be honest.
Then
Guardians is
Guardians and
excited.
Spider-Verse and Flash.
I'll be gone for when Spider-Verse.
I'm only excited for Guardians and Flash at this point. I'll be honest. I'm not too high on Shazam. But maybe it'll surprise me. Hopefully.
Well, Toby's hyped up for his other superhero movie.
I don't know. The last few have been bad. So, or at least I don't like them.
Yeah,
What, Fast X?
Be gone.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of 8. I wasn't a big fan of 9. I like 5, 6, and 7 and Tokyo.
And Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw is probably the best one of them all.
See when Spider-Verse gets released. See if
June,
it's
right?
going to be playing while I'm gone.
I think it's June.
Yeah, it's June 2nd. Yeah.
Oh, 2 weeks before Flash. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, do you want to hit us with a question?
So you're gone during that and Flash?
Yeah.
Man, podcast we're gonna have while you're gone.
No, delete the feed while I'm gone.
I'll be honest. I'm comic book excited for the Flash majorly right now. Like how excited I was for all the previous Marvel movies. I'm comic book excited for the Flash.
I am trying to not care, so I love it when I see it because I am so fucking terrified that it's going to be horrible. I'm just not even listening to reviews. I'm listening to anything. I just don't want to know.
Did you watch the trailer?
I want to go in and
I'm excited.
not be excited.
I'm beyond excited.
Because like Guardians 3, I'm going in with like expecting it to be absolute garbage. So like
I'm excited.
Sorry, Kevin.
I'm just even more excited.
You know you're the same.
I just rewatched the first one and it still holds up beautifully.
I love the first one.
The first one still holds up fine.
I watched the second one, and I did we ever talk about that? I did the Guardians of the Galaxy Secret Cinema in the UK. I did the same thing I did for Strangers, but for Guardians of the Galaxy.
I don't think so,
dude. It was.
I don't know if you ever talked about it.
It was awesome. Like at some point, like Drax is walking around, he challenges people for like push-up contests, and like there's like these Nova Guards walking around, and a trader would be like, "Don't trade with the Nova Guard because they'll arrest you," and he like shaking yes with his head, meaning you totally want to be arrested. So I was like trying to walk around, trying to find a Nova Guard, trying to get arrested because I heard there's a storyline where you break out of jail. I was like, and at some point you walk down this like alleyway and you talk to like this weird mocap of Rocket. So there's got to be someone like behind the scenes like talking as Rocket to you because you actually talk with Rocket. It was like really awesome. But yeah, no, you go in, you have to pick a crew basically, and you have to like find certain artifacts, and like kind of like Stranger Things, like each storyline is a different storyline that you go through the town, or in this case, in nowhere, and eventually, you know, all of the stories converge together into like a final piece. But it was pretty amazing. I don't know if it was as awesome as Stranger Things, because I think also. I was only there for one night and we're trying to figure things out. And I think this is like one of those things you want to do more than once and you start putting the puzzle pieces together. So yeah, that was one hell of an experience. So yeah, that's all.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, those things are neat.
Yeah.
I like the idea behind them.
No, if they ever bring these like properly to the USA, because I feel like they brought bits and pieces over. If they ever done, I mean, also we've been in this pandemic, right? But if they ever bring the actual experience over, I recommend anybody that's a fan of these franchises to do it. Like they've done Back to the Future, they've done Star Wars, they've done like James Bond, Casino Royale, they've done a whole bunch. They done like Moulin Rouge. But if it's a property you love, I do not miss this. If they ever bring this, I think they did some in New York a couple of times. But if they do like the proper. I feel like they had like the experience for Stranger Things in San Francisco, which wasn't the same. They had like a drive-through version in LA. That was not the same.
Yeah.
If they ever do the actual one where there's like hire actors to be the characters and you actually get to be in the world and you actually interact in the world and you have to like play a certain character too, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's super fun.
Cool. Yeah. No, they seem neat.
Yeah.
Kevin, unrelated, we have a question,
Yes.
Patreon question from our good friend Craig, and it's very good timing as well. Craig says, who is the best writer on Legion of Superheroes and why? We know it's not Bendis. But it's hard to pick between Jim Shooter, Paul Levitz, Abnett and Lanning, Jeff Johns, Keith Giffen. When you pick, why did they get it so much more than others? The irony of this is I have been reading through my archives. I literally read the last pre-Shooter issue last night. So my next issue is the first Jim Shooter issue. And I've read bits and pieces of his run through the years. I read a lot of the original stuff years and years ago, but I've never sat down and read. I am reading all Legion in chronological order, straight through. So I am getting to a lot of stuff. Bits and pieces I've missed of the Silver Age stuff, and now again I've read chunks of the Shooter in various forms, and now I'm going through for the first time straight through.
So, well, who's your nominee?
I mean, they're all. I can't leave Mark Waid out of here too. Right. I liked his Legionnaire stuff. They all do the thing they do very, very well. It's I can't really pick between any of them. Like, I guess you can write out Abnett and Lanning if you don't like, and Giffen if you don't like that take on the Legion. If you don't like the Dark Legion stuff, then you could just write those guys out. It's not for everyone. I know people don't like Keith Giffen's run. I know some people don't like the Abnett and Lanning stuff because it gets too dark. That was sort of my introduction to the Legion, is that era, is the Mark Waid and Tom Payer and then into the Abnett and Lanning stuff. That was like when I first was reading Legion at like 0 Hour, like early 90s stuff. That was when I was first getting into comics. So I have a soft spot for that, but you know,
I think most
Shooter
people would
did so much of it.
Most people
right?
would probably answer Levitz because of the Great Darkness saga.
Yeah.
Ah.
You can say Johns just redid what Shooter and Levitz did if you want to be dismissive. I mean, I would think all the original guys created a lot of very good core concepts. Shooter created the personalities, but Levitz brought them all together. I think I think that would be.
Sorry, Craig. I got to say, Shooter / Levitz, like 51-49. I can't really pick.
I mean, I think Levitz just picks up on the best of Shooter stuff and adds to it. All right. I mean, that's what I said. Like I feel like I do not have the names of all the original people in front of me that worked on Legion.
Those ones you've been reading?
Yeah. It's Bridgewell, and what's the other guy's name?
Did Otto Binder do any of those?
Otto Binder did some. Yeah. So there's a lot of like kind of like not one off, but you know, it bopped around between a few people. But Shooter is like, he figured out the formula, and then Levitz, I think, kind of perfected it. So, although Levitz would say Shooter perfected it. So, but that's history decides. My
Legion, my soft spot. My soft spot is when I was a little kid, and I would just get, like, a parent would get a random comic off a spinner rack. I would oftentimes get Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes when that was the title. It was the Mike Grell era, because it just had all these characters on the cover. So what parent wouldn't think that a little kid would love that? But the problem was I had no idea who the fuck any of those characters were at all, because it wasn't the Justice League. Like, I didn't know Colossal Boy or Saturn Girl. I didn't know any of those. But for some weird nostalgic reason, that's still my favorite Legion, even though it was incomprehensible to me at the age I would have been reading it then.
Well, that's the fun part. You get to learn.
That's Shooter, Levitz, and I think Cary Bates were the writers all mixed in that era. Sorry, Craig. Don't have a definitive answer for you.
I really started with Legion, I think, with John's stuff from Final Crisis.
Like, well, I think his action in Final Crisis like really brought the Legion back to, but then they kind of
and then so that piqued my interest to go and I read like the Great Darkness saga and I read all of Wade's stuff and enjoyed Wade's stuff, but a lot of the other stuff wasn't collected, so I never got around to it. So from just what I was exposed to, like,
I don't know. I don't know what Mark Wade's like personal history with the Legion is. I wonder if he's written about it, because I feel like his Legion run, he did the best he could with what he was given, but it was just not the Legion, and it just he sort of was like, well, you got to kind of start this over again for some reason, and it's kind of like the Bendis stuff. And quite click, because it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like, is sort of the problem.
No, it spiral. It's trying to tell a story, and then it gets merged with Supergirl, and then it kind of just flounders towards the end. Like, it didn't have like it, but it wasn't that it was horrible. There was just something missing from it.
Yeah, he had to kind of
whereas like Bendis was just.
Well, they were both trying to sort of like reinvent the book, but they just sort of treaded the same ground that they had done other stories about. So it's sort of just didn't feel right. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, I'm excited to get through this stuff now. Actually, like fully chronological, all of it in order.
Just out of curiosity, how many issues can you read in a sitting?
I do like one or two.
Yeah, that's probably about the.
Yeah, the Silver Age stuff is tough. Yeah. The Silver Age stuff is real tough, but it's funny. So who let me see if I can do a quick little Google search here. Because those issues right before they introduce Computo, those are fantastic issues. And that's before Levitz comes on. That's before Shooter comes on. Let's see who did those couple. That was, sorry, I'm pulling this up here. Yeah, that was Jerry Siegel. Jerry Siegel and Kurt Swan did the Computo issues, and those are fantastic. So they were like kind of figuring it out before Shooter took over. It reads like a really good like 60s Doctor Who episode. They sort of it got away from the general like generic Silver Age DC superhero fight, and they're like, oh no, this is like a custom villain for the Legion that actually fits. They feel like the Daleks, which actually works really well. The original Computo. So yeah, that stuff is really good. Yep. I'm in a big Legion kick, so very well timed question. Thank you.
I'll still say, I've said it before, but sometimes things we say on here magically appear on comic racks later on. I still say your movies, you get somebody to write the main Legion, and you have a backup story in every issue where you reach out to indie creators from all over comics and say, come in and do us. You pick the Legionary you want to do. I just think that book works better with multiple voices telling the stories rather than just a Bendis or a Levitz or whoever. There's so many characters, just getting fresh voices in.
And they're all so unique. Yeah. Right? They're all unique powers, unique designs, unique characterization. So, yeah. That'd be really neat. That's a podcast, guys. We're done. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Elaine.
Don't we have 30 more minutes to match the movie?
Where's Louise to recap the movie?
Can recap beforehand. Hey, before we go, we have a new high tier Patreon backer. We have to thank our good friends at the Lowdown podcast, Luke and Derek. Thank you very much for your support. Comic Conspiracy on patreon.com. The Lowdown with Luke and Derek is on Spotify and YouTube. You can just search. They don't have a website up yet. They just started the podcast recently, but they have it on YouTube as well. It's a podcast talking about new games, new TV shows, movies. The YouTube channel has other episodes with new game releases info on there as well. So long-time listener to the podcast, so thank you very much for your support. Hope you guys have success with the new podcast and YouTube channel. So again, The Lowdown with Luke and Derek. Just do a search for that. It came up very first thing that came up when I searched for it.
See, Ryan, we have to put out content while you're gone. You got these high tier backers who are expecting content. You can't just say, "Sorry guys, thanks for joining, but we got nothing."
I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll do something for him. And the rest of our high-tier backers, Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at clearpathcoaches.com. Craig, thank you for your question. Remember, questions, you can leave them for us at patreon.com/comicconspiracy. We used to get a lot. We don't get it as much anymore. Hit us up. There's a sticky thread on there. You can leave them on there and we'll answer them. Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast and Talon Bray, thank you all for your continued support, as well as everyone else that supports us on patreon.com/comicconspiracy. If you go to comicconspiracypodcast.com and Apple Podcasts, you can find all our previous episodes. You can go to comicsconspiracy.biz and purchase comics from us there for in-store pickup or mail order. Head over to conspiratorBrock.com. That's Brock's website with his blog and stuff when he has the time. Charlie's Doctor Who podcast, Wanders in the Fourth Dimension. Maybe they're going to change it to Wanderers in the Quantum Realm. Talk about Ant-Man? No, probably not. That is once a month while they are on hiatus for waiting for new episodes of Doctor Who to air. And Kevin's weekly interview series called Between the Panels is at fanbasepress.com. You can read his interviews over there every week with new creators, big and small. Some very cool people on there. My wife, Leanne. Oh, Kevin.
Huh?
Oh, sorry. No. Look like you were
stretching.
You were.
Oh,
okay. That you had an announcement of people you've interviewed recently on
I
Between
can
the
do
Panels.
it. Where are we? Is this the first week of March?
Well, it's going up tonight, so it'll be
yes.
very soon.
Friend of the show and the store, Tom King, will be the first guest of March.
What?
This week?
Oh man!
How much trash did he talk about Ryan?
What?
I told him we were off the record for that stuff, Toby.
That guy that keeps harassing me on Twitter. And my wife, Leanne, she has her Etsy store up at etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. You can see all her artwork on there and pick it up from her, as well as leannehill.com. You can see it there as well. If you're on Twitter, please follow us. Ryan Higgins Ryan, that's me. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp. Lane does not really use Twitter. I think you're on there. You just don't.
I don't post.
You don't post. The store is Comics Con Store. And listen to Geekbox. I know we were off last week again. I was sick. So, I'm sorry. Ryan did an episode last week. He did an episode with Anthony Gallegos, I think. So I have no idea what they talked about. You should go check it out. And then our friends at Manga Muck Nations. Go check them out as well. That is it. We are done. We will see you next week. Goodbye.